Following good news items with you this evening. It was a beautiful Saturday evening on October 7th for the 50th annual Bethel Park Festival of Marching Bands. Those in attendance enjoyed outstanding performances from five area. Good. Sorry, V. I can't multitask. Those in attendance enjoyed outstanding performances from five area high school marching bands. But the highlight of the festival was the addition of the 163 Bethel Park Marching Band alumni, including 97 musicians, 51 Bethettes, and 15 majorettes who performed with the marching band. It truly was amazing to see generations of Bethel Park Marching Band members, parents, and their children marching and playing together. It was also great to welcome back former band director David Bitso, who directed the band in the pregame, and for the band to present the family of Dean Streeter with a framed shadow box containing his trademark orange wool BP band director's blazer. The festival also marked the 60th year of the Bethettes, with founding member Donna Cartwright Solakis in attendance, all the way from Plano, Texas. It's no wonder the band has earned its well-deserved nickname, the Pride of Bethel Park. What a great night. All 17 Bethel Park High School juniors who applied were accepted to and attended the prestigious Westinghouse Science Honors Institute, which is a 13-week Saturday morning lecture series held at Franklin Regional Middle School. This program exposes students to a variety of science and engineering topics presented by local professionals. Congratulations to Eliza Albenzi, Eli Calevo, Will Copeland, Kylie Flood, Tanya Holbert, Rachel Holt, Patra Zhu, Haley Kubikanik, Jenna Periton, Nicholas Sowers, Eugene Semyon, Victoria Slawinski, Daniel Sauniak, Ryan Trichler, George Tomko, Jerry Valgese, and Alexa Will. 21 Bethel Park High School students successfully applied and have been accepted to participate in an apprenticeship program sponsored by the Allegheny Intermediate Unit. These students will have the opportunity to work in hands-on, side-by-side situations at several workplaces where they will gain a greater understanding about a career of interest and make some valuable connections as they begin to map out their futures. Participating this school year are Kyle Bailey, Samantha Brown, Will Copeland, Trinity Ferenczi, Taylor Garrity, Kristen Haddix, Emma Harris, Elizabeth Hartnett, Hannah Hathaway, Rachel Holt, Katrina Janusik, Catherine Kimes, Jacob Opie, Emma Petrick, Savannah Pop, Preston Smith, Sabrina Tatalius, Graydon Tomakowicz, Kaylee Van Hornbeck, Alexa Will, and Joseph Wright. Our Bethel Park High School Hometown Haiku is at it again, as the team defeated teams from Franklin Regional and Montauk High Schools in the first round of the KDKA TV's Hometown Haiku quiz program to advance to the playoffs, which will begin in 2018. Representing Bethel Park in this year's competition are Todd Ackerman, Jake Cunningham, and Evan Ehrenholt. You can watch their victory on Saturday, October 28th at 11 a.m. and a rebroadcast on Saturday, November 4th at 11:30 a.m. Congratulations and good luck in the playoffs. The Rotary Club of Bethel Park named Bethel Park High School senior Grace Evans its October Student of the Month. Each month during the year, the Rotary recognizes a Bethel Park High School student for outstanding commitment to school and/or community. Grace was recognized for her community service as a member of the National Honor Society, and especially for the Be Yourself mural that she created and painted in the hallway wall at Independence Middle School to earn her Girl Scout Gold Award. 8 Bethel Park High School musicians successfully auditioned and have been selected to play in the Pennsylvania Music Educator Association's Honors Band Concert, which will be held on Sunday, November 19th at North Hills High School. Representing Bethel Park in this event will be Bruce Deal, Jonathan Topulioff, Catherine Kimes, Anthony Lucetti, Cheyenne Myers, Tyler Petrossi, Connor Remington, and Teresa Stopka. Congratulations to these outstanding musicians. Earlier this month, Bethel Park High School Advanced Placement German students welcomed a group of 25 German teenagers from the vicinity of, I'm not German, Zilkau, a city in Saxony in the former German Republic, Democratic Republic, for a 2-hour visit, which included a tour of the high school. The Bethel Park German students conducted their tour entirely in German, and the high school students worked on their presentations for about a week leading up to the German students' visit. The German students were part of the German choir who were in the country to perform, and retired Bethel Park German high school social studies teacher Mary Garber worked with the high school German teacher Christopher Tobias to arrange for the tour, which the choir was visiting in Pittsburgh. The German students were impressed with the high school, especially its size, as the schools they attend in Germany are much smaller. The Bethel Park German students were excited to use their German skills with their new friends. Congratulations to two Bethel Park High School senior athletes who were recently recognized by 2 organizations for their athletic and scholarship talents. Senior soccer and lacrosse player Anna McClendon was presented with the Allegheny Health Network's Extra Effort Award by KDKA sports anchor Baum Pompiani. The segment will air on Thursday, November 2nd at approximately 6:45 during the KDKA 6 p.m. newscast. Additionally, senior soccer player Jordan Malheco was selected as the school's winner for the 2017 Wendy's High School's Heisman Scholarship Program in recognition of her commitment to excellence in school athletics and her community. Congratulations to Anna and Jordan. Bethel Park High School was once again the host of the 2017 South Hills College Fair, which was held for the students of the Bethel Park, Upper St. Clair, South Fayette, Mount Lebanon, and Peters Township's high schools. Representatives from over 120 colleges and post-secondary institutions were on hand to meet with students and their parents for this informative event that was held in the gymnasium. Thanks to Bethel Park High School guidance counselor Mike Bruce for his efforts to host this successful event for the 2nd consecutive year. The October 11th blood drive at Bethel Park High School was the most successful one in the school since April 2014. The most recent blood drive had 102 registered donors, and the blood bank was able to collect 81 units of whole blood and 2 platelets with 19 deferrals. Because of the success of the drive, the Central Blood Bank named it to be the Blood Drive of the Week. Congratulations to Sabrina Tatalius and her fellow students on the Principals Advisory Council of Students, or PACS, for their efforts to coordinate a successful blood drive. The high school is also recently honored by the Blood Bank at a luncheon recognizing the top 20 donating organizations in 2017 for collecting 351 units of blood last school year. Thanks to everyone who donated to help save lives. Lincoln Elementary School students were inspired by a suggestion made by 3rd grader Riley Mae Johnson, and they enthusiastically stepped up to the plate to bring in school supplies to be donated to hurricane victims in Florida and Texas. When the drive was over, Lincoln collected 6 buckets filled with supplies, including paper, crayons, scissors, and pencils, which were sent to Brother's Brother for distribution. Great job, Lincoln. Memorial students participated in a school-wide project based on the story Only One You by Linda Krantz. which is a tale of a young fish named Adri who gets some good advice from his parents before sending him out into the world to make his mark. Some of the advice that Adri receives includes find your own way. You don't have to follow the crowd and blend in when you need to. Stand out when you have the chance. The book is illustrated with beautiful rocks painted to look like fish. As a variation on that theme, memorial students were asked to bring a rock the size of their hand to school. In their art classes, they painted them with designs of their own choice and also painted an inspirational word at the bottom of their rock. These rocks were sprayed with a protective coating by art teachers Kristen Johnson and Amy Mintner, and will be placed in the newly created rock garden that will be located in the back of the school near the parent drop-off area. The students also participated in some STEAM-themed activities, such as estimating how many rocks would be needed to fill the space of the rock garden, and using the Face Talk app to record a story about their rock. The goal of the project was to encourage students to develop positive behaviors and understand the importance of being kind and doing the right thing. The rock garden will be a beautiful reminder to everyone who sees it that there is only one you in the world. Make it a better place. Needless to say, Memorial rocks. If you see any of these little library boxes around town, you're encouraged to check them out. These boxes are the partnership between the Bethel Park School District and the Bethel Park Public Library with funding from WQED. These beautiful boxes were constructed by Bethel Park High School wood technology students under the direction of Bill Wells, and they were located on the Montour Trail by Washington School, Shim's headquarters on South Park Road, and the Milford Fire Station. These little library boxes are an extension of the pop-up libraries that appeared this summer at all Bethel Park elementary schools and are the brainchild of Lincoln librarian Denise Pezakanix and Bethel Park Public Librarian Elaine Volpe. The library boxes give the community the opportunity to share books by bringing them closer to home. Anyone can borrow the free books. If you see something you like, just take it. These boxes will be refilled by the libraries, but we're hoping that the community will also want to get involved. If you have a book that you want to share, please leave it in the box. Mrs. Paz and Mrs. Elaine hope these little libraries will be another way for the community to share a great book. Congratulations to Bethel Park High School social studies teacher and head baseball coach Tony Fisher, who was recognized on October 7th by the Pittsburgh Penguins as the Walmart Community Playmaker. Mr. Fisher was nominated by 2009 Bethel Park graduate and former baseball player Jim Mayer, who felt that Mr. Fisher made a positive impact on his life as a teacher and coach. As a community playmaker, Mr. Fisher was honored before the Penguins Nashville game and got to ride on the Zamboni. Nominations are being accepted for the 2018 Bethel Park High School Great Alumni Hall of Fame. If you know of a Bethel Park graduate who has demonstrated noteworthy personal or professional accomplishments after graduating from high school, you're encouraged to submit a nomination. Forms are available online under Latest News on the BPSD web page. The deadline to submit a nomination is October 31st, 2017. Thank you for taking the time to tell us about an outstanding alumnus. Bethel Park High School proudly presents The Heist as its fall play on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, November 9th through 11th at 7:30 p.m. at the Bethel Park High School Auditorium. Tickets are $5 and can be purchased in advance on November 2nd, 3rd, 6th, and 7th at the high school from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and at the door on the performance evenings. The play is a fictionalized version and a cautionary tale about the events that led up to the nation's first armored car robbery, which took place in 1927 in Bethel Park. The play was written by its director, Bethel Park High School English teacher Courtney False Williams. The play features 27 cast members plus the production staff. Come out to learn more about this historical first that happened in Bethel Park and enjoy the performance. The play is already drawing a lot of attention as Bethel Park alum Rick Seaback included information about the play in his latest WQED Nebby show about Route 88. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you very much. Student government. Yeah. Your first time to attend our meeting, huh?
Yeah. I'm the stand-in tonight. I'm Elena. I'm vice president of SGA at the high school. In September, we had a very successful homecoming. 830 people went to the dance, which is awesome, our most we've ever had ever. And there was milkshakes, a DJ, and a photo booth. And in October for Halloween, we have planned a costume contest. In the morning when students come into school, they can dress up appropriately, obviously, but and then there's also going to be a door decorating contest for all the homerooms who choose to participate, and also a hawk scavenger hunt around the campus of the high school. There's going to be clues and prizes for that. And then in November, we're planning on giving back all month to charity and students, and there's going to be an opportunity to encourage positivity and friendship through students can write like little notes to their friends and they can be passed out. So yeah, that's
great. Keep them busy. Thanks. PTA, PTO council.
Hi, my name is Dawn Hughes and I'm representing IMS this evening. The PTA report from Abraham Lincoln Elementary. Over 330 students attended the Lincoln Fall Festival on October 13th with their family and friends, making it one of the biggest festivals ever. Thank you to all the volunteers for your time and to the businesses for your donations. The Fall Book Fair was held the week of October 9th. Tracy's Boutique in Casti Village hosted a fundraiser for the Lincoln PTO on October 19th, raising over $250. Lincoln will hold its annual Halloween parade along with classroom parties on October 31st. The Lincoln PTO will be holding a teacher appreciation dinner during parent-teacher conferences on November 2nd. And November 17th is a Spirit Day and School Store Day at Lincoln. Sorry, I think the teacher conferences is the 6th. I think they have the wrong date on here, sorry. At Ben Franklin Elementary, Ben Franklin's October had been full of school spirit and fun. They got their first spirit wear orders and everybody was happy with the new designs. They had their family bingo night and spirit night at Chick-fil-A. Ben hosted the Fall Scholastic Book Fair, which was a huge success. End of this month, they will start their Sarah's Candy fundraiser. The school is also hosting their first family pumpkin decorating contest. Students will vote by donating loose change that will benefit families in need during the holidays. And Ben Franklin is ready and excited for Halloween parades and parties for the end of the month. Over at George Washington Elementary, it's been a full month. Family Bingo Night had a great turnout on Friday, October 6th. The fall fundraiser, Sarah's Chocolates and Chestnut Hill Candles, concluded mid-month. The first annual George Washington Lucky Ladies Bash took place at the Community Center on October 14th, and everyone had a great night, and the event was a huge success. On October 17th, George Washington went pink in support of breast cancer awareness. The Pittsburgh Pirates Parrot and Chick-fil-A Cow visited for an assembly on October 20th to educate students about the importance of healthy eating and exercise. This week, they're celebrating Red Ribbon Week. The Halloween classroom parties and parades will take place on October 31st. The PTO will serve a teacher appreciation dinner during conferences on November 6th, and the next PTO meeting is November 9th. At Memorial Elementary, Memorial has had a busy start to the school year, and with October winding down, they completed another successful fundraisers this month with Yankee Candle and the Fall Scholastic Book Fair. Also during the book fair, 2 awesome 4th graders came up with a wonderful idea to raise 200 books for Children's Hospital throughout November, and during the book fair alone, they raised close to 40 books. To finish out October, Memorial has a Chick-fil-A Spirit Night tomorrow evening, the 25th, and the Halloween parade and parties will be on the 31st. The PTA will begin the month of November with treating our teachers to a dinner during the conferences with all the items donated by their wonderful Memorial families. They also hold their next PTA meeting at Memorial on Monday, November 13th, and that same week, on the 17th, the PTA will also host a bingo night, which everyone looks forward to. Memorial will start the Sarah's Candy fundraiser next month, as well as we prepare for the Holiday Shop Festival, and that will take place the first week of December. Over at William Penn Elementary, School Picture Day was October 4th, which was done by M&M Photography. Their fall festival was held on the 13th. In exchange for a donation to the Shim Food Pantry, children were able to pick their own pumpkin from the pumpkin patch. A total of 154 pounds of food were collected and given to Shim. The activities included airbrush tattoos, a candy walk, games, a bouncy house, a pumpkin decorating. A barbecue dinner was also available, as well as Kona Ice to help raise money for 4th grade activities. The Chestnut Hill Candle fundraiser concluded on October 17th, and as always, the children enjoyed the book fair that took place October 17th and 19th. Preparations for the Halloween parade and classroom parties are underway. Over at Neil Armstrong PTO had their first Cosmic Bingo over the weekend, where about 150 people came out to this fundraising event, and everyone had a glowing time. Neil PTO is also hosting their first ever color run/walk fundraiser on Saturday, November 4th, with 206 participants so far. There's going to be music, bake sale items, Chinese auction baskets, and of course a colorful mile and half mile run or walk. And at Independence Middle School, we're seeking families to become members, and all that money goes towards the fun activities for the kids, such as Bold and Gold, 8th grade fun day, 7th grade social, and more. And we're preparing for the IMS Craft Fair that's being held on November 25th from 9 to 3, and the registration for the craft fair is now open and can be found at the site, the imsptso.org. So, and that's all I have.
Great.
Thank you.
Sounds good. That's a lot. Thank you. Solicitor's report? Nothing. Committee reports. Anybody want to talk about?
Would you like me to start?
Yeah.
So, as I've said in the past, we have a meeting monthly over at the Pathfinder School, and that is called the South Central Area Special Schools Committee, which involves 5 different school districts: Char Valley, Bethel Park, Mount Lebanon, Carlington, and Upper St. Clair, where we, in essence, are the landlords for the building, if you will. There are 24 different school districts that send students to the Pathfinder School, and Mrs. Cook is kind enough to join me at this meeting every month. We reviewed a list of information that was shared with us as far as maintenance that was going on, because being the landlords, that's a major part of our responsibility, and that the IU is responsible for the educational programs. Talked about all the activities that are going on there, and fundraisers, and a lot of great things. And if the public would mark your family calendars, please, for November 17th, there's a pasta dinner. And it's one of the fundraisers that they have at the Pathfinder School. And some of the board members will be there serving the spaghetti, and the staff and all the people involved work very hard with their students. So we appreciate their efforts. Thank you.
Mrs. Rule?
Yeah, I have a long report this time. And I want to report on the conference that I went to, where I had to be a voting delegate for the school district. Pedro Rivera addressed us. He's the Secretary of Education. And one of the things that he began with was there'll be less emphasis on grading and rankings for school and testing. He is a big proponent of less testing, as far as like just your regular tests that you're used to now. He wants to look at short assessments, look at other ways of measuring, experiential portfolios, a whole host of things. So you're going to start to see a lot of changes in that direction. He said already the 3rd grade, the testing that the state has already been reduced by 30%. and went by 20 to 25 toward the high school. So in many ways, that's a good thing for people that have problems taking testing. Of course, he gave us the great news that they aren't any closer on their budget. So schools really got to look. Some of them already have started to borrow. It's not a good scene. Some of them are preparing for layoffs because they can't meet the budget. Which brings me to mind that one of the legislations that was discussed was the SB2, which has already passed the House. It's in the Senate, and it does allow schools to do furlough for economic reasons. And they have other categories. The other thing is that it was interesting, this conference, because all the school board people were worried about money, and all the administrators were telling us in the different workshops all the wonderful things they were doing in terms of creating happy, healthy schools. That is the new emphasis. And one of our major schools in our region, who has 8,300 students and 31 national merits, has come up with just a wonderful concept. I wondered how he did it. I'm going to call him, in fact. He has it already operational. All the teachers are on board. He said it took a little while, but they got it on board. And they have IEPs, individual education plans, for every student. They make sure that every student needs are being met. They also have incorporated things like they have 4th, 5th, 6th grade cluster. And if I'm a 4th grade student and I'm reading at a 5th grade level, on my IEP, I'll just pick myself up and go to that 5th grade classroom at a certain time. So the students are moving around, they're learning independence, and he just has so many different things going on. They're using different type of measurements. They're getting away from the standard. They're looking at reducing stress and anxiety. They're very concerned with the suicide rate and other emotional problems that are surfacing in a school. They're just feeling that things have been too structured maybe, and they're looking to see how they can alleviate some of that. Also, he was doing climate survey among the students, which is interesting. They have formed committees based on this climate survey, and they're looking at how to measure students. They're looking at how to make them, classes less stressful. They're looking at what other things they can incorporate into school. They're getting the parents involved. They're having everybody on different types of committees. Then they come together and set up a whole goal setting, and every month they see where they are in the structure to make sure they're staying on target. The other thing is that they are looking at starting school later, because there's been a lot of studies around that. So that's their next move. So he just feels that he's looking to start classes later. They're looking at proficiency, some scoring of some type, but they want happy, healthy, successful students. That's their goal. Another factor that came, another school that was working strictly on a program that they are teaching stress management in a variety of different ways within all the classrooms. They take a couple minutes out and they do a stress reducing technique. And that was a program that apparently has taken hold very good. And that's a school that has 12% minority and 10% disadvantaged children in. And they have a $98 million budget. It's a nice budget to have, but, and they're not quite as, well, we're about the same size. One of the facts that came out, all of us have new superintendents, and this came up from Pedro Rivera, that there's been an 80% superintendent turnover, because we're now in a phase where we all have all new young superintendents. All the older ones have retired. There's only a couple left in Allegheny County, maybe 3 or 4. And the average stay has been 3.4. Now they're concerned because they've been looking at the schools where this has happened, and there's starting to see a decline in the school's performance because of instability. So they're very concerned about turnover in the next couple of years, leading to more instability in the county, and they're not liking that. And that's being done by the PSBA. So some of the legislation that is important to the school district that we had to vote on One was, of course, the pensions. They want the state to put more into the pension fund. I mean, they can't even come up with funding to schools. I don't know how they're going to do that. But that's something that PSBA would like us to continue pushing for. Also that the low-performing schools, we're back to getting vouchers. That low-performing schools, the students will be able to get vouchers to go to other schools. That's also on there. They want us to be able to use locally selected scheduled computer adaptive assessment systems where you would take these little short quizzes instead of these big state mandated tests. And the locals would, you know, select those. And they would replace the PSSA testing, you know, and any of the major tests. They want to do away with that, so they voted to do away with that. They want to eliminate the use of state-developed tests for graduation requirements. And they're looking at, like NOCTI, which is in the voc tech schools, some of the certifications, you would be able to use those as part of your graduation. A student career portfolio would be something else, your SAT score, PSAT and ACT, an AP or an IB class that exceeds the state-defined score. Any of those things would count toward graduation instead of the standard testing. So they did vote yes overwhelmingly for that. They want to, again, approach the funding for charter schools. We pushed to have a set fee so that all students that were attending, it would be one set fee instead of you paying what the district cost is to educate a student. It would be one set fee. So that would be a good thing if they'd go along with that. They also want to oppose any legislation on a federal level that reduce any federal funding, even in the Medicaid funding for schools that take care of students that are reimbursed through the school-based access program. They were concerned about that. And the last thing that we didn't have a vote on, but it's the Homestead Act, which is going to be on the ballot, which is of grave concern because they're trying to take away the 100% reimbursement. That would all be taken away. There would be no property tax. But the state and the counties would then be able to impose their own taxes, like increase the sales tax, increase the personal income tax, all of that. And so, you know, the state hasn't done a real good job so far. I don't know if we want them taking over the tax structure because the schools will really have a problem. And the homestead and the property tax right now runs about $10 billion. That's a lot of money. And the state's already a couple billion in debt. I mean, how are they going to find, imagine how much funding sources. So that's on the ballot this time. You better vote no, or you're going to be paying taxes and everything else. So anyway, the conference was great. They just talked about all the different methodologies. Again, you see STEAM and STEM, and I go back to the voc tech schools. They've been doing that all along. It just wasn't called that, that's all. And as far as my local reports, I'm excited to see the AIU. We've got 21 here for apprenticeships. We also got the listing and the resumes of people that are going for the director of the AIU. Got those last night. And we're going to start our interviewing. Steel Center's also looking at new career paths that will be adding some different types of courses for some of the trades that are, you know, now coming on that they're going to really need workers. This is a critical area. So we're looking at what else we can implement there. And we are also looking at seeing if we can't get some of their courses almost like an AP grade now that we're looking at another way of measurement. So that's something else we're looking at. And last but not least, just want to remind you that DECA and the Chamber Santa Brunch is scheduled for December 9th this year. So you can put that on and save the date. December 9th, yes, at the high school here, 11:30 to 1:30. And the last thing is, I'm so glad to see where my rocks went. My granddaughter was over, we had to find the perfect rock. Then she said she did paint it, but she come home crying because she couldn't bring it home. It was going to stay in the rock garden. So I said, we could go visit it. And I'm so glad to see where it went.
Great, thanks. Any public comments on agenda items this evening? Seeing none, we'll move into business items. Curriculum Committee and Mrs. Buckley.
Thank you, Mrs. Cook. There are 3 items this evening under curriculum. Would any like any held out?
Number 3, please.
Any others? Under curriculum, I then move number 1, the Bethel Park School District Comprehensive Plan, and number 2, Pennsylvania Junior Academy of Science State Competition, PGAS, Penn State Main Campus, May 20th through 22nd of 2018.
Second.
Items 1 and 2 under Curriculum Committee have been moved by Mrs. Buckley and seconded by Mr. Means. Any questions or comments on either of these items? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those items carry 7-0. Mrs. Buckley.
Thank you. And item number 3 is the 2017-28 school calendar revision. And I'll explain some of the details here, which I'm sure Mrs. Floto will do as well. It's the Board of School Directors approves the administration's recommendation to improve the revised 27-2018 school calendar to reflect 2 makeup days for the October no school dates. President's Day, February 19th, will now be a school day for all, and spring break will be shortened by 1 day, March 29th. May 15th, 2018, Election Day will now be a teacher in service day. The 181 student days and 192 teacher days will remain the same as the initial calendar.
Second.
Item number 3 under Curriculum Committee has been moved by Mrs. Buckley and seconded by Mr. Means. Any questions or comments on this item?
I was just wondering if we could apply the state for an exemption for those 2 days, because I know in the past exemptions have been allowed for different reasons. Would this qualify as a reason that we could ask for an exemption?
I'm not particularly sure if it would qualify or not. I mean, typically, I've only heard myself of exceptions or exemptions when it was severe weather, where they put a state of emergency for most of the state or region of the state for weather or something. But I don't know. I defer to the solicitor, or we could look it up.
Yeah,
I
I'd have to look,
Yeah.
Mrs. Davis. I don't think that it would qualify, just sitting here, but it's something we can look into.
I don't think I would be in favor of just giving up 2 days of instruction, and particularly when it was, it would be rewarding those responsible for the incidents by giving them a day off.
I'm curious, why are you interested in an exemption for the school? I mean, I thought we wanted to make sure the kids get as much schooling as possible, and like Jim said, it was a bad situation, and it sort of gives false encouragement, but maybe you have a reason why an exemption was needed?
Well, I think that we had a pretty good calendar going, and I'm not, if we can avoid making up those days, I think it was unfortunate circumstance. It put parents out. They had to have, instant plans made, and it just seems to me that, if we could get an exemption for those 2 days, that it would be appropriate.
For me personally, I feel that that would not be the right way to go. I've been approached by parents saying that we would be rewarding the students or whomever is involved with the reason that school was canceled, and that they would prefer that we not do it that way. So if that's something we're going to pursue, I personally would not support it. Kids need to be in school.
Yeah, I agree. They need to be in school.
Anybody else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That carries 6-1. Personnel Committee and Mrs. Rule.
There are 6 items under personnel. Are there any to be held out? Okay, I move that we approve the following items. 1, approval of extra duty responsibility program. Approval of leave of absence. acceptance of a resignation, an appointment of personnel, approval to extend unpaid leave of absence, and approval to extend temporary assignment for long-term substitute.
Second.
Who's second?
I did.
Thank you. Items 1 through 6 under personnel have been moved by Mrs. Rule and seconded by Mrs. Buckley. Any questions or comments on any of these items? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those items carry 7-0. Mrs. Rule, will you continue on with facilities and services
Okay.
for me this evening?
There's one item for approval, for motion today, under facilities. It's the approval of the addendum to proposal for consulting geotechnical engineering services of the landslide remediation construction phase operations.
I need a second.
A second.
Thank you. Item 1 under facilities and services has been moved by Mrs. Rule and seconded by Mr. Means. Any questions or comments on this item?
Yeah, what is this specifically? I was up there, I looked at the situation the other day. It looks like it's fairly well completed. It looks like they even have grass planted.
This is kind of a little bit of retroactively because he was on the job, so 21,000 of it, and maybe even more of it now, probably it's close to completion, but 21,000 odd dollars were already spent prior to this, so this was for an additional 9, and probably since then, this is not to exceed. He may have already, as you're saying, been out there and done that, so we're probably close to the 30,000 because the job is about done.
Okay. By the way, it looks very good up there. It looks like a good, solid job.
Any other questions or comments on this item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That item carries 7-0.
And then
We have
there's
a
one discussion item,
Yeah.
the bus cameras.
So a little bit about the bus cameras. Obviously, not all of our fleet has cameras, but most do. Some are aging, some are broke. So I think this is going to be something that we do need to make sure that we address in a timely fashion. My recommendation, we often install many of these, so there's a variety of cameras out there. Mr. Ryer, who's not here today, along with Mr. Cheeseborough, the mechanic, and Scott Zeiler, along with Mr. Karazzi and I have been meeting about this and looking at different options for the bus cameras. One way or another, I think that my recommendation is right now, I would say we need at least 26, according to those folks, and they would be in the ballpark of 1,100 to 1,300 probably a piece. So you're totaling somewhere over the $31,000+. I believe we did look into it in the business office, and those are on state contracted pricing, correct? Some of them are, okay. So the ones that are, we would be okay. The other ones may need bid if they go over the bid amount. My recommendation,
I said or quotes if it's under.
or quotes, correct. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. So my recommendation to you is based upon that, one way or another, that we do get these on for the November agenda. And I bring this up as a discussion item. As you may know, well, you obviously know, but we have one meeting in November. So this is a relatively large purchase, so I wanted to make sure if there was any discussion, we had it so that we could get this placed on for November and get at least the 26 purchased.
When we buy new buses, are they always outfitted with cameras or just with the capability for cameras? We get the cameras, we bid them with cameras, right? Okay.
And we did ask the question, correct me where I'm wrong, Mr. Karazzi, but if we put these on order buses and we had to buy new buses, they could be taken off and put on the new buses.
I think it's something important to do. Things can get out of control on a bus, and the bus driver has to watch the road. He can't be looking to see what's going on in back. And with the cameras here, the kids know they can't get away with too much or they'll be caught. So
I agree. My recommendation would be to do the 26 and know that there might be some additional ones throughout because we are going to need to replace those. And I give you a little fluctuation in the price because I think we need to determine with the bus company and the bus drivers, excuse me, and the technology department to determine the best camera for the dollar.
How many buses do we have?
Total.
50?
50
50.
plus. a
We
little
get close
over
to 80
50.
buses once. How'd we get rid of so many?
Well, we don't have quite as many spares,
Okay,
and we have decreased the number of runs that we
okay.
Students went down.
Are these mini buses and regular buses 50?
Do these cameras have voice and audio in them too?
I believe they do have audio, correct, Mr. Krause? Those are the ones we were looking for? Yeah.
And there's a procedure we have to go through with notifying the parents there's audio on the bus, correct?
Correct. We already did that.
I was gonna say that. We already did.
We have buses.
I think you did that a while ago, a long time ago.
Because we've had these on the buses. Is everyone okay with putting that on for the November agenda?
Yes.
Finance Committee, Mr. Means, would you take Finance Committee for me this evening?
Okay, there are 7 items under the Finance Committee. Would anybody like any of them withheld?
Number 7?
Number 7, okay. I move that the first 6 items under the Finance Committee be moved. That would be number 1, October 2017 salaries and bills. Number 2, September 2017 financial report. 3, budgetary transfers. 4, approval of the purchase of information technology equipment. Number 5, the Bethel Park Education Foundation resolution. And number 6, the purchase of cellular repeater systems.
Second.
Items 1 through 6 under Finance have been moved by Mr. Means and seconded by Mrs. Buckley. Any questions or comments on any of these items? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those items carry 7-0. Mr. Means.
I move that item number 7, the internship agreement, and that is with the Steel Center for Career and Technical Education, be approved.
Second.
Item number 7 under Finance has been moved by Mr. Means and seconded by Mrs. Rule. Any questions or comments on this item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That item carries 6-1. Policy Committee, continuing with Mr. Means.
Okay, the Policy Committee. There are 5 items under the Policy Committee. Number 1 is the approval of policies for the final reading. That would be 619, the district audit, 718, service animals in schools, 830, breach of computerized personal information. Item number 2, policy revisions for the final reading. That would be number 324, personnel files. That would be administrative staff. Number 424, personnel files, professional staff. Number 524, professional files, classified staff. Item number 3, waiver of procedure. The Board of Directors waives the procedure requiring 3 readings for policy 123.3. Item number 4, policy revision, number revision, second and final reading. That would be item policy 123.3, and that replaces former policy 123. And number 5, policy number revision, second of 3 readings. Number 122, extracurricular activities, which replaces number 242. Policy 123, interscholastic athletics, replaces policy number 423. So there are 4 of those items require a vote, so I move that the Board of Directors authorize resolutions 1 through 4 under the Policy Committee.
I'd like 2 held out, please. He didn't ask.
Number 2, I'm sorry. Okay, so I revise that. Number 1, number 3, and number 4 be approved.
Second.
Items 1, 3, and 4 under Policy Committee have been moved by Mr. Means and seconded by Mrs. Dobus. Any questions or comments on these items? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those items carry 7-0. Mr. Means.
Okay. I move that item number 2, policy revisions, the final reading for policies 324, 424, and 524 be approved.
Second.
Item number 2 has been moved by Mr. Means and seconded by Mrs. Dobus. Any questions or comments on this item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That item carries 6-1. Mrs. Buckley, will you take other for me this
Certainly.
evening?
Under other, there is one student agreement, student agreement. I move that. I'm not going to read the numbers, but it's a student agreement.
Second.
Item number 1, under other, has been moved by Mrs. Buckley and seconded by Mrs. Dobus. All in favor of this item, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That item carries 7-0. We are now to the portion of the evening with public comments on anything you wish to address the board on. You would have 2 minutes at the microphone. Name and address, please.
Hi, Sharon Janicek, 4314 Anna Street. A lot of this is about the presentation that was at the beginning. And one of the points that you made, Dr. P, about least restrictive environment was that students need an increase in supports to be successful in that situation, which are not only necessarily academic supports, but also behavioral, and sometimes extend to additional training opportunities or consultations with other people. So please remember, as you try to move students into a least restrictive environment, which is wonderful, they need support to be able to handle that situation. And sometimes I do hear from parents who would like a least restrictive environment, would like their kid to be in the classroom 80% of the time, but aren't getting the kind of support levels that the child would need to be successful there. So increasing LRE is great, but that also might mean some more paras, or using the paras differently, or grouping differently, or getting some additional training. Which led me to the drop in the IMS scores last year that we were talking about up there. Reminded me that IMS was a building last year, that there were some issues with para support for students who were supposed to be getting individual small group instruction and were actually in larger groups broken up between rooms with one para. And it was interesting to see that that actually affects the scores. And lastly, Mr. Means, any school district, if they come out of corrective action, who would say everything else is in compliance, is not understanding the meaning of corrective action, or of the monitoring and the cyclical auditing that happens, or of what compliance is. So saying everything is out, everything else is in compliance is extremely misleading. And even if there were no corrective actions, that doesn't mean everything else is in compliance. Thank you.
I would
Anyone else?
beg to disagree. I mean, the Pennsylvania Department of Education seems to think that it was a pretty good job, so thank you.
Stephanie Silman, 5087 Sherwood Road. We saw a lot of data and numbers this evening, but these numbers don't tell the whole story of what our children experience in our schools. To that end, I'd like to share a poem by Charles Osgood. There once was a pretty good student who sat in a pretty good class and was taught by a pretty good teacher who always let pretty good pass. He wasn't terrific at reading, he wasn't a whiz-bang at math, but for him, education was leading straight down a pretty good path. He didn't find school too exciting, but he wanted to do pretty well. And he did have some trouble with writing, and nobody had taught him to spell. When doing arithmetic problems, pretty good was regarded as fine. 5 plus 5 didn't always add up to 10. A pretty good answer was 9. The pretty good class that he sat in was part of a pretty good school, and the student was not an exception. On the contrary, he was the rule. The pretty good school that he went to was there in a pretty good town, and nobody there seemed to notice he could not tell a verb from a noun. The pretty good student, in fact, was part of a pretty good mob, and the first time he knew what he lacked was when he looked for a pretty good job. It was then when he sought a position, he discovered that life could be tough, and he soon had a sneaky suspicion. Pretty good might not be good enough. The pretty good town in our story was part of a pretty good state, which had pretty good aspirations and prayed for pretty good fate. There once was a pretty good nation, pretty proud of the greatness it had, which learned much too late, if you want to be great, pretty good is in fact pretty bad. I shared this poem tonight because I'm concerned about the future of the students in our district. I'm concerned for our community, for our property values, and for our tax base. I implore everyone here tonight to truly think about what is in the best interest of this community. These children are our future. They deserve the best we can provide for them, and I do not believe that the status quo provides that. Board members, look into your hearts and determine if the decisions you are making really serve our children. If they don't, I ask you to change your ways. And community members, if you don't think the current board is acting in the best interest of our students, I ask you to vote on November 7th for people who can. I have always been and always will be BP proud and will continue to come to these meetings and speak within the community to advocate for a brighter future for Bethel Park. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, Sandy Blackmore, 3540 Valley Drive. I just wanted to know and I'm a little naive here, this comprehensive plan, where can I find that?
It's a variety of different places. It's on the website.
Okay, on our
that's
page.
available there.
Okay.
It's also, I can actually hand it to you if you want to. It's on the thing here that was available for public viewing for the last 30 days. It's out here on the credenza.
Okay.
And it was also available at the public library for the last 30 days or so. Well, probably longer than that because I never went and picked it back up. So there's 2 copies there.
Okay, I will look for those.
For a
Janet.
year, so.
Thank you. And the other thing, I'm kind of excited, but I'm a little wondering what kind of internship agreement we have with the Steel Center for a career, like where will these people, are they coming into the schools or are they coming into like jobs in the community? Like it just says to provide internship opportunities for students at no cost to the district. So you know, kudos, we're getting interns, but where are they going? I guess was my question. So, thank you.
Thanks.
One second, Janet. The website is fairly extensive. Do you know where that comprehensive plan could be found on it?
Let me just find it.
It's on the elementary, it's on the curriculum webpage, elementary, secondary education on the right-hand side.
Okay, thank you.
Kathleen Kroll, 2211 Milford Drive. I wanted to address something I heard at the Meet the Candidates forum last week. Certain board members have been talking repeatedly about misinformation being disseminated to the public over social media. Citizens discussing their personal experiences is not disseminating misinformation. When another parent tells me her 9th grader was forced into an honors French class she didn't want because she was told by the school counselor there was no space in other classes, and when other parents corroborate that story, that's not disseminating misinformation, that's sharing experiences. When I post information showing that Bethel Park's Keystone scores have declined over the past 4 years, while neighboring district scores are both higher than ours and have increased, that's not disseminating misinformation. I'm more than happy to give the specific numbers to anyone interested, but embarrassing though those numbers may be, concerning though they may be, that's not misinformation, that's facts. When parents discuss their concerns about the gifted education audit showing non-compliance in many areas, that's not disseminating misinformation. That's discussion of valid, real concerns, concerns which a lot of the board appears disinclined to discuss with parents or citizens. In fact, if it hadn't been for other Bethel Park parents, I wouldn't have learned that the district was giving me misinformation in regard to my daughter's rights as a gifted student. As an example, at the end of 3rd grade, I asked that she be single subject accelerated the next year in math, where she showed high aptitude and ability. I was told that single subject acceleration just wasn't possible. As a rule, it wasn't done. And 5th grade math is designed to be taught by 5th grade teachers. And since there were no 5th grade teachers at Lincoln, she couldn't take 5th grade math. I've learned since then that the school was disseminating misinformation, and I only learned that by speaking with other informed parents. I can tell you now that my students' GIP have always been and is currently out of compliance with state regulations, but I only know that because I got the facts from other parents. I know that the Bethel Park Advocacy Group has asked repeatedly to meet with the board for the past 3 years, but the board has rebuffed their invitations. Either the schools are knowingly disseminating misinformation about gifted education and willingly remain in noncompliance, or they really don't know the rules and regulations surrounding this aspect of public education. I'm not sure which is worse. Thank you.
Hello, Denise Dillon, 5969 Monongah Hill Avenue. I keep hearing all these complaints about how the school special needs are not being met, and I have people come up to me and they're telling me they love it. They have Mrs. DiGregorio and Mrs. Nath. They can't speak any higher about them. They said the therapists are welcomed at the school. Teachers here are more educated about special needs here, and they're very patient with the students. They have aftercare, before care. And I jokingly said, you haven't read on Facebook. I said, we have the worst, our special needs program sucks. And they're like, no, it's only a couple of people complaining. We have a much smaller ratio. We have interns coming from Duquesne. I don't understand. I guess the ones that complain the most are the ones that are heard, but there's plenty of people who read this stuff and they're like shaking their head. They know that their students are getting what they need. I have one parent who had to move out and put her child in Pittsburgh Public Schools, and it's horrible. They don't have the small testing groups. They don't help them. They don't have the smaller ratio. They fight them on every issue. I mean, we're hearing that their parents are being told that they can't have stuff. Well, why is that? What are the teachers telling them that? I mean, it's not the school board telling them that, it's the teachers telling them that. So I don't understand that. Another question I have, it's in reference to the campaign for candidates forum last week. One of the board members brought up all these different union grievances and other comments or other complaints. And I know they're not supposed to be commented on. I've asked for information on them. If we're going to keep putting them out there, and I've heard it multiple times at board meetings, give us the information. Let us know what they're about, how much they're costing. Are they frivolous? There seems to be an awful lot. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sherry Bowmore, 4100 Jasmine Drive. I was impressed by some of the scores outlined in the PSSAs. Unfortunately, I have a kiddo that has an IEP, and so she has experienced a trend the other direction. She has transitioned from NEAL to IMS this year, and I started to express my concern with the school district in May of last year. I have repeatedly met with the school. The accommodations she received at Neil Armstrong have been changed to what I have been told is allowed or we do at IMS. And I am still in the process of trying to meet and go through that process. It is frustrating for a parent. All I want is my daughter to have the best education. I have 2 older sons that have went to Bethel Park. We love Bethel Park, but I am very frustrated through this process as a parent. And it is not the teachers. The teachers are bending over backwards to try to do. I am told that it is the administration and telling downwards. So thank you very much.
Good evening. Michael Dokmanovich, 3225 Comanche Road. Well, we're back. And even though we had some great things said tonight, it's all smoke and mirrors. We're right back to where we started again. We tonight took and approved a resignation of a faculty guidance counselor. So now at the high school level, with all the problems that went on with our guidance department, we're now down to 3 at the high school.
Just let him finish his comments.
It's under resignation, so let
him finish his comments, and then we'll address.
Excuse me. If I may. Under resignations, as a parent, I take it as the fact that Mr. Bruce is resigning. So I apologize if that's the wrong information, but that's what I take it as is sitting in here. So obviously that's a major concern. If it's different, I would like some explanation on that, and I would appreciate it because Mr. Bruce is an excellent facilitator for the school. But second, with the smoke and mirrors part of this, with 2 students that are in the IEP, that have IEPs for the district, and just using the comments that were made directly from our superintendent, quote, we're not seeing the improvements, we're not meeting up to the standards. We would like to, we want to increase the IEP scores, but yet we're making, again, we're making cuts, changes, and differences to these programs, and the numbers are not lying. So I just ask you again, where are we going and what are we doing? And I would love clarification on what the situation is with the guidance counselor program. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mrs. Cook.
Would any board members or?
Well, Mrs. Cook, before board comments, just in case they may be in regards to this, would it be okay if I just made two comments, one about, you know, to clarify anything about the guidance and also about internships?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So for the guidance, it was not a guidance counselor, however, we have curriculum facilitators. And what that means is in each department we have a teacher who is chosen as a curriculum facilitator who receives a stipend, who helps to lead that department. And at this given point, Mr. Bruce has decided that he no longer wants to do that, and we will be posting for a new curriculum facilitator. But Mr. Bruce's resignation was only for the facilitator position. And the second thing that did come up a little bit was about internships. So in general, I think it's very important that we offer all of the opportunities that we can for our students, and partnering with Steele Center is a good opportunity to do that. And our school district, we're very fortunate to have a lot of talented folks that work here who are willing and able to work with Steele Center to provide internship opportunities at times. So we left this pretty universal. In particular, we're probably having some interest in and around the technology department and having people, students work with our technology department to learn and practice the skill they're getting from Steele Center. But in addition to that, there might be other areas such as, you know, heating and cooling, and we have folks that work on that. So this is kind of just a general approver to let you know that we would be looking at internships when available and appropriate with Steele Center for our students to be able to work with faculty and technology and maintenance to work on their craft. So I think it's an excellent program, and maybe it'll grow, and sometimes we'll have more interest than others. And I do appreciate those involved who are going to help, you know, model and mentor these students.
Thank you. Do any board members wish to make any comments this evening?
I do.
Mr. Workmeister.
Okay. Let's start with the good news first, and we'll end with good news, but I'll put some stuff in between. Okay, first, I wanted to do some brief congratulations for what we had seen today, for a lot of good things that Bethel Park School District has been doing, and the kids and the teachers helping with all this, and the parents as well. Just to summarize, we see that we have there's a lot more merit scholarships awarded this year. I saw from the previous meeting that was being mentioned. We have the third grade showing a very good, impressive increase in the proficient and the advanced scoring that we have seen on the charts. And those numbers don't lie. I mean, I'm sure these are accurate. We also wanted to say that with job chat, well, okay, let me just do this here. Congrats on the attendance for the STEAM attendance presentations at the STEAM Expo. That was a very big thing. I'm being an engineer. I highly like to see kids, you know, go into these areas like STEAM and the arts and all that. So that was a quite impressive thing. I'd like to see a report on that too, to show what you saw at the expo. That would be, I'm sure, interesting for a lot of us, in particular me. And just to speed things up, since I did do a long speech last time, this year we do have an election, and it's coming up. I'm not on the election board here, but I know that we have, I'm not running, is what I'm trying to say, but we do have some excellent people here on the board. As you heard Connie's report, she is it's invaluable. I mean, it's just like, she's priceless to our board. She goes to these meetings and has a lot to say, and she brought some interesting facts here. And one of the things I want to bring up to the district is it's not a trivial task to run this school district very efficiently and to be very, you're trying to run it as a business, but yet as a school district. You want to make sure that you keep things in line with the funding and the finances, but yet you want to have an excellent school district. And with the state, what they've been doing with the budget, as you saw, is causing a lot of districts now to borrow money and also to go ahead and furlough teachers. And this is a critical thing. We are very unique as in the whole entire state here, where we have a very excellent school district, and it's because of how the votes have been going down as far as on teachers and the contracts and everything else. And the other thing about this board, we have a teacher contract that was signed. We have both the teachers union and the board being happy with it, so I think that was a big plus there. So without going into too much more here, I just want to say the election's coming up next month. Make sure you guys look at facts and do not look at and read through any of the rumors and some of the misfacts. I mean, so when somebody says something like, we fired teachers, there's no such a thing. We never did that. And that was stated before. I've seen it myself. So it's not just a rumor, I actually saw that. So thank you, and that's it.
Donna, can I just say something about that internship? Sure. I think that it's a great opportunity for our students because it is the up and coming direction for jobs. Why shouldn't we be a role model for a lot of the other schools, using our own students to learn and have firsthand to learn their VOTEC skills? What a great opportunity. The other thing is that with Steel Center, we were able to connect them also to one of our medium-sized companies here in Bethel Park. Going to do an internship to give our other students some more hands-on. This company needs workers. They need someone from the trades, and we're going to start bringing some of our students from Steel Center out to give them an opportunity. This is the wave right now. This is where the jobs are. So we have to do everything, and I think our school being able to provide that is a great step in the right direction. We should be proud. We're addressing all of the students' needs, taking time, little at a time, as much as we can do with what we got.
Thanks. Anyone else? I apologize. I have been with my students for over a month now, and I'm coming down with a terrible cold, so I'm going to ask for an adjournment.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I was letting you go first. Excuse me.
Okay, there's been allegations of false facts, and people say, well, that's not false facts, that's people's opinions. But they're all are false facts. There have been implications that the school district is slipping academically. If you look at the tests, if you look at the overall trends, we've remained at relatively a stable position with regards to our neighbors. We want to improve, we seek to improve, and I think we've seen signs tonight that we are improving. There have been implications made that we aren't meeting the nursing needs of our students and not keeping nurses at every building. That's absolutely false. We've worked tirelessly to try and get, not tirelessly, but I mean, we work consistently to get the nurses that we need to meet the needs of the students, and there is always a nurse scheduled for every school. One of the people posted on their blog, they said, well, I'm finally glad to see that we have an arrangement where we're going to be hiring nurses from the outside. What they don't realize is that isn't something that could have happened under the contracts. We had to negotiate with the unions. We had to go through a whole arbitration arrangement to come up with an arrangement and a memorandum of understanding so we could go outside. We can't just do whatever we want to. And that isn't something that just happened because people have been complaining. It's something that the board, and in particular Dr. Pasquarella, has been working on for a long time. You say there's not misinformation coming out there. Well, there was a rumor, I don't live in the borough. I've lived in the borough longer than some of you have been alive. I mean, that's just a completely false thing. And lastly, there have been some problems with the gifted monitoring assessment. I won't deny that. But there have been attempts to link that to the special education program. The special education program is in good shape. I'm not saying there's no problems at all, But we are in compliance, we are doing what we're supposed to do, and that's basically all I have to say.
Mrs. Cook, if I may, thank you. I wanted to start first as far as the staff report. I know I say this all the time, and I truly do mean it, and I'll go quickly in the interest of time. There were a variety of awards that our students and staff and community members were a part of, and children around the world. So if we could play that part of the meeting over and over again, so there'd be people who seem to want to rip on everything that we do and see all the very positive things that involve so many people and our children benefit from it. It's outstanding. And one of the things that was already mentioned, the Marching Band Festival. If you didn't get to see it, it was phenomenal. And I personally want to thank all the adults and the kids for the involvement, because it was just amazing, and all the details and all that they did for the students and brought all the folks back from many years ago. And that in itself was just outstanding. Also, I'd like to commend Ms. O'Rourke, Ms. Wells, and Mrs. Sutton tonight for all the data that you put together. It was very helpful, and I know that that was a very involved situation to provide for us. And it also shows the efforts and the flexibility of our staff in working together in a very positive manner, and I commend them for that. Lastly, something that was just brought up again, and it just so happens I have the 43-page report in my hand as far as the let me catch my notes here. As far as the corrective action, I'm not going to read you the 43 pages. I'm not going to read you the entire letter from the state. I'll just go with the first paragraph. And this is from Patricia Hozella, the director of the Pennsylvania Department of Education. I have been informed that the areas of non-compliance cited as a result of the special education compliance monitoring visit conducted on March 16, 2015 have been corrected as of April 12, 2016 by the school district. It is with pleasure that I commend you and your staff for efforts made in achieving resolution of the non-compliance areas. And I'm not saying we're perfect. I've never said we're perfect. There's always room for improvement. But if you look at the 43 pages, there's a lot of positive things here that have been addressed by some very hardworking people who truly care about children and presenting the right facts. Thank you.
Okay. Are we ready to adjourn? Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.